All right, here we are. I believe our audio is good. We are live today and made some changes in the room here today, but today we are going to focus on doing some vocal editing. So, this is something I haven't done on stream before, so I'm pretty excited about this. Um, we're going to be editing vocals today with a tool called Melodyne and Logic Pro. And I'm pretty excited to share this with you today. So I'm going to get the screen right up here. We can get things started. So you may or may not have heard of some of these tools before. Maybe you've even used some of these tools if you are a music creator. But I bet you have heard of the term auto tune. So many people will think of this as what's used as auto tune. We're not really auto tuning today, but what we're doing is making some uh, basically minor corrections to an existing song. So let me take us back a step here and make sure that my screen is sharing so we can see everything. Yeah, it looks good. I'll switch the camera view in a second. So I am working today on a song for one of the bands I play in called Octavate. And here, I'll put this on the screen here so you can get some info about Octavate if you care. So I sing in a band called Octavate. There's basically two of us in the band right now. Post COVID, there should be four or five of us in the band, but right now there's just two of us working on things. And we are writing and recording songs separately in our home studios, as well as our taking turns in our band room. And this, what you see in front of us here today, is a song that Josh and I put together. I think we put this together in April. Josh wrote the majority of the song and laid down the music for it, and then sent it over to me, and I sang the vocals that he had put together, and then I added on some minor additions to the vocals. And um, so the song's titled "Wearing Thin," and it actually, this is our pandemic song. It's a story of the world we've all been living through this year, but from the early months perspective, and frustration that goes with it. So let me hit play. Let me make sure that the audio sounds good, and I'll put my comments up. So if you can hear me in the comments, that will be great. Um, so if you do hear the audio, let me know. Let's give it a quick listen. Okay, so just so you're aware, I've got some drum tracks that need some work. So if you hear the drums and they don't sound finished yet, we're going to come back another day and work on the drums. But what we are about to get into is some of the vocal tracks. So if you look here up at the top, I have a track called Double Lead Vocal, lead vocal, lead vocal new, lead vocal second, lead vocal third, lead vocal fourth, lead vocal ad libs, false vocal, short for falsetto, ASMR vocal. I think I whispered something, and natural vocal, natural vocal. So, yes, I recorded the lyrics to this song many, many times. Um, and in some cases, I think I had multiple takes of them. So, what I'm now doing is going through those vocal takes and noticing small areas where my voice was, in some cases, a little bit sharp. Um, from a rare case, sometimes it's a little bit flat. Usually it's pretty good, but there are spots where I just sing a little bit sharp compared to the music. And so I'm going to be using a piece of software, which I'll show you here, called Melodyne. And what Melodyne does is it actually brings the vocals into a different tool, and it puts those vocals on a note chart. You can see over here on the left the notes in the scale, and it does a great job lining up where my singing took place and where it actually lines up in the song. So I went through the other day. I just started using Melodyne, by the way. Yesterday or 2 days ago was the first time I've actually used Melodyne myself. I've worked with my editing and producing friends as they've done some Melodyne work in the past. So I've sat next to someone as they've done this editing, but I figured it's time for me to get familiar with it. So I got a copy myself, and I'm going to start doing some Melodyne in my own edits. So ultimately, what I plan to do is all those different vocal tracks that we just talked about. I just walked us through here. All of these tracks I plan to bring into Melodyne and see if they need any touch ups. And basically, as I hear people say, the major value of Melodyne is to take a good vocal recording and bring it to that great status. Um, and so that's what we're doing here today. So I'm going to play through the song a little bit so you can hear some of the vocals, and then we'll come back and do some of these edits. So let's give this thing a little bit of a listen here. I feel my patience wearing thin. It seems frustration is the shape I'm in. So we are listening to the one track here, lead vocal new. If I back this up, let's see what the other tracks sound like. I'm going to unmute the other tracks just so we can hear them and you can see all the different takes I put into this. Feel my patience wearing thin. It seems frustration is the shape I'm in. My television counts the end of days. A heavy collision's what they'll never say. Social distance is the theme of the day. Selfish resistance chooses not to obey. My isolation is what lies therein. I feel my patience wearing thin. So, I actually, as I'm listening through this, maybe you heard it as well, but there's a couple spots where I noticed, oh, this could be either sang again, or I can bring in and do some edits. So let me bring back Melodyne here. And I'm going to go through those same parts again. All right. So using Melodyne, I can feel my pain. I can click right into the song and have it just play the vocals like I just did there. I feel my patience. I can also click up here and it'll play with the music. I feel my patience. So I'm going to spend today for at least a little while focused on just this one vocal track, just so we get used to it. And then we'll come back and we'll edit multiple tracks. I have not done multiple tracks yet. I can bring multiple tracks in here and compare them at the same time. But let's focus on this one track here. So we'll talk about it as we go. Sometimes it's good to listen to it without the music. Sometimes it's good to listen to it with the music. But we'll see here, according to Melodyne, I'm still very new to this interface. This song is a G minor song. I actually think this shows the tempo. I think my Logic Pro project shows the tempo as a 55, but the actual tempo is an 89. I think there's something wrong when I imported this into Logic. I'm not going to focus on that right now, but it's really neat to see the starting note of the vocals starts at a G. It's a G3 if we really want to get specific, but it's a G. And we can see we're going around the scales here. And we can see, we'll be able to see later on when I get into the chorus. I end up getting into a high B which is a really tough note for me to sing. So I wouldn't be surprised if I'm a little bit off there. So let's listen. Now, by the way, what we're looking at here, some of this I've already edited. So I've cleaned it up just a little bit, but as we go through a couple parts, I want to give you an example of what this actually does.
I feel my patience wearing thin.
So the word thin.
Thin.
Yeah, see, I click on it and you can hear me say the word thin.
Thin.
And it's probably in the right spot, but if I need to smooth it, I can do that.
Patience wearing thin.
That's not really what it's supposed to be, but that is Melodyne. That's the basics.
I feel my patience wearing thin.
Let me switch my camera view here so I can see the screen a little bit better. Here we go. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through some of this. Here's an example. I feel,
seems,
and feel. If you notice this, feel is right on the G. And this word that's going to be seems is a little bit low. Let's listen to it and see if I want to change it.
Feel my patience wearing thin. It seems for
I think I like the way it sounds. But let's pull it up right into this note here. See how it sounds.
I feel my patience wearing thin. It seems
I'm gonna leave it there.
Frustration is the shape of.
This one's a little low. This one's a little high, but I think it's the accent I'm looking for.
It seems frustration is the shape I'm in. My television counts the end of days.
So this is Melodyne. There's a lot to this tool. The nice thing about it, it's very easy to use. There's a lot of good capabilities that over time I might be able to master. As I mentioned when we started, this is only the second time I've used Melodyne. I just started using it 2 days ago, and I've learned from watching my my producer friend Scott. We've worked together on some music. He produced the song "Pain of Reality" for Special Victim, and he has worked on some music for Octavate in the Jack Prost band. So I've worked with Scott on as he has used Melodyne, and now I'm getting used to it myself. Okay. All right, let's listen to it a little more.
It seems frustration is the shape I'm in. My television counts the end of days. A heavy collision's what they'll never say. So true.
I want to go back to, I hear the word days, and I don't know. Let me listen to the word days.
Television counts the end of days.
Days is way up here, which means if I understand this right, Melodyne actually didn't register it correctly, and I think that's what these bars are. I'll start reading up on it to learn a little bit more, but I think that's what we're talking about here. And it does feel a little off. Let me bring it here.
I'm in. My television counts the end of days.
I think so. I'm going to leave it there for now.
A heavy collision's what they'll never say. A heavy collision's what they'll never say.
So I will come back another time to talk about this bar. This one note, I said the word never, and it is not a surprise to me. I intentionally um, put some squeaks and other sounds into my singing so they're not straight on the bar. But I think this one went a little astray, and you can see this little spike going here. And in truth, really, what I wanted to hit was the D note, and I ended up going up into an E flat up here. So I don't want to pull this whole piece down, and I don't know the steps of cutting this yet. I need to learn these pieces, but I'm going to come back later and pull this piece down to make this E flat back into the D range here. But you can probably hear it. It's going to be right there.
Visions, what they'll never say.
So I intentionally sang it that way, but in truth, I really want to just pull it back down.
Social distance is a theme of the day. Distance is a theme of the day. A selfish resistance chooses not to obey.
So I sang it the way that I wanted to, but it's interesting that it is in between a B and a C. What happens if I move this?
Selfish resistance chooses not to obey.
I think that's right.
Resistance chooses not to obey. My isolation is what lies there.
It's funny because I sing it not with the music sheet in front of me. I honestly don't read or pay attention to music very much. It's mostly ear based. And when I sang it, up there was where I heard it in my head, and I've listened to this playback many times. But it's interesting to now see it in Melodyne to realize that I was a very sharp B, and if I pulled it down to a B, it definitely sounds different, but it is the right sound. Oh, I believe so. Let's listen to it again without the music.
Selfish resistance chooses not to obey.
Might need to. Sounds like I've got some artifacts here of this drop, but I'll get back to that. We'll improve that.
Resistance chooses not to obey. My isolation to obey. My isolation. My isolation.
Yep, here's a good one. That was a good one.
Obey. My isolation is what lies therein. I feel my pain is what lies therein. I feel my patience wearing thin. Feel my patience wearing thin. My patience wearing thin. Find a way, hide away, slide away. Find a way, hide away, die away.
The vocal training to really have much pitch control. Tools like this can help get them into certain keys. There are some options in here that it can automatically tune me. But in fact, I'm looking at each note individually hearing the nuances and making the changes manually. And as you notice, very few changes. Most of the song is in the right spot. I noticed at the beginning the song starts at a G3, and so kind of that's the bass line. So this is great.
I feel my lifeline wearing thin. I feel my lifeline wearing thin. Wearing thin. Respiration now is giving in.
Here's another one where I went a little up here, and I might find a way to adjust that as I come back and do some more learning of the tools here. I don't want to cause any issues in the save file, but it was an intentional way that I sang the vocal. But I'm going to probably bring this back so it just lines up better, and again gets that more precise final piece.
Inspiration now is giving in.
But you heard it in a given. I'm gonna find a way to pull this piece down. I'm gonna come back to that later though.
Giving in. I can't breathe, so I don't think I will win. So I don't think I will win. I feel my patience is wearing thin. Find a way, hide away, slide away. Find a way, hide away, die away.
So now I'm up a full octave. I went from a G3 to a G4 up here. But I do see it looks like I'm a smidge flat. Let me see if I can do some adjustments here. See how this sounds.
Find a way, hide away, die away.
It doesn't surprise me that it's a little flat. I'd been singing this whole song through, and now I'm getting to the top of my range. And not only that, I'm singing this song in a pretty raspy tone. It's kind of the tone that Josh and I decided to go for, and it is not my natural tone. So it takes a toll on my voice as I'm singing through this and getting to my upper register here. I'm not surprised that I'm struggling to get this note up a full octave. It'll be fun when we come back and look at the other vocal takes to see if or how many of them I actually got right on the G4. All right, let's listen to this line again. Let's listen without the music.
Find a way, hide away, die away.
There's a G4 back here. What's this?
Patience is wearing thin. Find a way. I feel my patience is wearing thin. Find a way, hide away, slide away. Find a way, hide away, die away.
What's going on here? I see this line. I believe this line means that Melodyne had difficulty recognizing the one note that's right at the spot. I think that's what this is. Again, I'll do some more learning to figure out what this is. So the next time we come back, we can talk about it a bit more.
Find a way.
getting into the chorus. So the chorus, the entire chorus is sung in an upper register. So if you remember, we started the song at G3 way down here. The whole chorus is based off of going up the next step in E, which was kind of the higher part of the verses. So we're starting in an E. We're even going above that G4. And I see we're going to get to an A. And I think I end this at a B. Yeah, B4, which is really high up there. I mean, it is a belt for a male voice. Let's give this a listen with the music, and then we'll come back and edit it.
One more day. This is how we stay. One more day. This is how we stay.
So that is the actual recording of it. There's some issues with this. Couple spots where I probably intentionally sang it a little late, or maybe there was a little latency on the recording. But there's a couple spots where I either have to re-record it or nudge the vocal back so it's with the beat. But this is the actual recording, and I end this thing at a B4, which that is a really high note. And this whole chorus part, this was my addition to the song. Josh had given me the song. He'd give with pre-recorded drum track. They were not live drums, but he'd played the guitar and the bass, and he had sang the first round of the vocals, and then he corrected his tuning to make it what he wanted it to be. But then we get to the chorus, which is this part here, and he didn't really know what to do with the chorus. So I added this in, and I did what I often try to do and push myself to the absolute limits, which I'm sure 20 years from now I will regret this because I'll probably never be able to sing this again. But let's listen to it one more time with the music, and then we'll take the music off.
One more day. This is how we stay. One more day. This is how we stay.
Interesting. The B4. I think I'm going into my falsetto voice, my kind of my head register here. Sounds fine. It sounds fine, but there are definitely some areas here where I actually might pull some vocals back to line up better with the beat. Let's see if there's anything we want to adjust here.
One more.
And there's my whiny sound, my intentional whiny sound here.
One more day. This is how we stay.
There's a little off here. I'm going to come back and make some adjustments here. Again, this tweak here. I'm going to listen to the 7 other takes as well to see where we need to make some adjustments. But this spot here is a little off.
This is how we stay.
I'm going to leave it back where it was.
Day. One more day. This is how we stay.
I'm probably just going to leave all this for now. I will come back and do something about this part here, though. But I've got to say, that's probably the highest note that I've ever recorded myself singing. B4. That's a belter. So I don't know what's going on here. Something did not work. Right, there's Melodyne is not registering the vocals here anymore. I don't know why. Let me close out of this. Let me save my file with all my edits. All right. And let me go into Logic Pro. And by the way, if you're new to this, or if you let's talk about how I got into Melodyne to begin with. First off, I'm using a Mac. To use Logic Pro, it only works on the Mac operating system. So I have Logic Pro on the Mac, and then I purchased Melodyne, which is a separate product from a company called Celemony. And Melodyne is a standalone product, but it's also a plugin to a digital audio workstation, a DAW. And so Logic Pro will immediately recognize Melodyne after you install it as a plugin. So as I have my little editing, my mixing board here, I have all the different tracks that are in the song, the different recorded tracks, so the vocals, the guitars, the drums, and you can see the different effects that I've added to the different tracks. The one track I'm working on here, you can see there's this Melodyne at the top. And if you want to do Melodyne editing in Logic Pro, you want to have Melodyne as your first plugin, your first effect. I have attempted to put it after the other effects here, adding it on later, and the plugin doesn't work properly. So you want to have it here at the top. And if I click on the button here, Melodyne pops up, and the track that I'm working on automatically gets pulled right in, and everything works fine, except something doesn't work down here in the end. This is super interesting. So this whole verse just somehow is not working in Melodyne. So let's just listen to it, since we're not going to do any edits here. Obviously, it's not registering. We'll listen to it when we'll get to the next part.
My patience wearing thin. Now sedation's where I wish I'd been. My blurry vision sees the end of days. The heavy collision made it go away. Find a way, hide away, slide away. Find a way, hide away, die away.
So I have no idea why this whole verse is not being transcribed in Melodyne. I'll have to learn about that. But it looks like it comes back right at this spot here.
Die away.
Oh, there I am, the G4, but it's off a little. So I'm saying these notes out loud to help myself remember. Remember, the song started as a G3. I went up a full octave to a G4 at the end of the verse. And then, as you remember, we get into the chorus. And I think the chorus started as an E, but an E3, and then I go all the way up to a B4, if I remember that right. All right, so let's listen to this part that I just edited.
Die away. Die.
A little sharp.
Die away.
I'm looking forward to getting the drums done. I know we're not talking about drums today, but as you're hearing in the background is my, first or second live drum recording on this. And you can hear there's some areas that are off a little bit. I'm looking forward to getting that corrected. Josh and I are trying to decide if we want to use my drums or go to our pro drummer who we've brought in for our other songs. Tom, he's just absolutely incredible. He's amazing, and he just produces great drum work. But I had set up my own drum studio and decided, let me give this a couple goes and see how it sounds. And there's reasons why we might stick with Tom, but there's a couple spots here as I start to transition into the chorus. I just really love the pattern as it transitions with the crash and the ride. I know it's definitely not a hard rock sound, but I've got some new cymbals, and I just like the sound of it.
Die away.
that G4. But a little bit of
Now we say one more, one more day. This is how we stay.
it's really interesting to me that, again, this is the second time I hit that high B and that I hit it. The high B is just on. It's not attempting to do a weird flex, but it's just really interesting that I hit this high B. Like, this just is a note that I seem to hit fine um, 2 times now. And again, it's really high up there.
One more day.
I know I intentionally have this whiny voice in here. Song is a struggle. In the story of the song is a struggle. It is a struggle of being sick during a pandemic. And I was actually sick early on during this. So it, as Josh wrote the majority of the song, it really hit home and was very personal to me. But as I'm singing it, trying to sing some pain into it. So you may hear some pain in the vocal. That's intentional.
How we stay. How we stay. One more day. This is how we stay.
I just saved. And this might be, oh, that's the end. I think that's the end of the song. Or it's the end of the vocal. I think that, yeah, that's the end of the vocal there. Song ends after that. Neat. Okay, maybe we'll stop there. We've been on for a while now. I figured I'd come on today and show off Melodyne, my first time really using Melodyne. So I figured we could learn together. And so I've been working on a song today for the band Octavate. And you can learn more about Octavate at www.octavate.band. And Octavate is, right now, it is just myself and Josh. And we basically started the band in March. Started playing together, experimenting, trying to figure out what we wanted to turn this into late 2019, but really started this in March. And then, of course, the pandemic hit as we had our first gig scheduled, and that didn't happen. So Josh and I have been writing songs, more Josh, and he's been writing a lot more than I have, but I've been contributing where I can. And we've released 2 songs under the name Octavate that are out on all the streaming services or music stores. We've got a 3rd song coming out the end of December, December 28th. We have a song coming out called Better Never Than Late. But you can currently find songs Slithering and My Wasteland. Better Never Than Late comes out end of December. And Wearing Thin, which we're working on today, is the next single that we plan to have out. Our goal is January, but I'm the bottleneck here. So I need to get these files over to Josh so we can then decide what we want to do to get this thing completed. So anyways, thanks for joining today. This is the first time I brought an Octavate song onto the editing stream. I plan to do this pretty regularly. And as you can see, the room that I'm in is not my typical room. It actually is the typical room, but I've made quite a few changes to it. And it's still a work in progress. But I'll start doing some performances as well, probably some singing. I may break out the guitar a little bit, even though I'm not much of a guitar player, but I may break that out a little bit. And just over this way here is the drum set. It's been a very long time since I've done a drum stream. So I might try to get those going again. All depends on the schedule. Right now, I've got a little bit of extra time, but that at any moment could go away as work picks up again. So thanks for joining. Have a great day, and bye for now.